Obviously, you never want to get swept, nevertheless, against your division rivals, but a little bit of a closer game today. What did you like maybe about the way the guys battled in this one compared to the first two?
I think it just shows that we have to play better baseball to compete against a team like that. Got exposed on the bases. We made base running mistakes, a couple defensive miscues, and we just couldn't catch up after a couple mistakes, and that's going to happen against really good teams. So we got our butt kicked this weekend for sure, but overall a good road trip, and looking forward to get back home.
What adjustment did Strider make against you guys after the first two innings? You guys tagged him for a couple.
I think he's just a really good pitcher, and good pitchers make adjustments, and he threw the ball at the top of the zone. We were really good at laying off of that at the first couple times, and then he went to the slider a little bit more. Changeup was good. We had some just weak contact on the ground that happens against the good pitchers because they keep it off the barrel. But I thought we put together some good at-bats overall against him, and a much better time this time than last time we faced him.
Jazz, with the oblique strain, I think it was, what's the level of concern there? And soreness. What's the level of concern there, and when did that happen?
Concerned, yeah. I mean, anytime someone grabs their side, you're concerned. So, we'll see what happens after. He obviously did that during the at-bat, so we'll see what happens tomorrow, and, if he gets imaging or whatever happens tomorrow, testing. But, anytime someone grabs their side, you're concerned.
And tough to see that, especially since just came back this week and was producing since he got back.
Yeah, you don't want to see it with anybody. So, he was feeling good at the plate. He definitely changes the lineup, and defense is really good. Base running, obviously, changes the game as well. So, we'll see what happens tomorrow.
What did you see against the approach from the Braves against Sandy, getting that pitch count up pretty high?
Yeah, they laid off some tough pitches. Hit the two-seamer today when they needed to. I think got exposed on the bases a couple times again. That might have hurt him. Overall, I thought he did okay, just high pitch count, which cost him. That's why he only went 5. But overall, I thought he did okay. But, probably you ask him, he's probably not happy with it. But I thought it was a better start, and just exposed on the bases that cost him a couple times.
Touch on this at the top, but when you do get swept, what can you learn about your team in a series like this, whether it's what it takes to beat a team like the Braves or how you hope the team responds as you guys go back home for their final home
I don't know if it's as much as us. That's a really good team that we faced, and they're really hot right now, and they beat up on us, and that's just kind of what happens when certain teams are really hot at certain times of the year, and we felt really good coming into this series. They just beat us. They beat us 3 times, and I don't think we made too many mistakes the first 2 days. Today, a couple mistakes. But they capitalize on your mistakes, and the lineup is really long and deep, and it's tough to navigate through. And our hitting was I think okay, wasn't great, but I think overall 3-3 against Boston and the Braves on this road trip. Going home, I think I would have signed up for that going into this onto this road trip.
series win against Boston since '97, I believe. It had been a long time. And I know the Red Sox aren't amazing this year. They still have some playoff aspirations. They still have some good players. They might sell the deadline. We really don't know who's going to sell the deadline at this point. The Marlins got a sweep on the road. The Marlins have dominated interleague play all year. This is really, really good stuff to see. We've got Isaac in here. We've got Daniel in here. We're going to go around the table. Just general thoughts on this Red Sox series from anyone who wants to go.
Go ahead. I was just underwhelmed at how poorly the Red Sox play baseball on both sides of the ball. Marlins did play very well. I think they got a couple lucky bounces, especially in in the rain delay game. But wow, that was underwhelmed by this team. I know they're above 500, but they are fifth in their division, and I'd be surprised if they weren't sellers because my goodness, they just have aging pieces, and I didn't see anything special about that ball club whatsoever. So Miami did what they needed to do because they were facing the best team in baseball right after that. So good thing they swept them.
Kevin, did you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I was going to say I was a little surprised when almost a good amount of you chose Red Sox over Marlins. This team, despite being in the AL East and over 500, their pitching isn't that impressive. Their bullpen isn't anything crazy. And Miami was coming off a good week. I mean, they did what they had to do, and they beat a Boston team that, despite, I think, being a couple games over 500, they're not that good. And as Isaac said, they probably will be sellers. So great performances from Brax, Luzardo. Unfortunately, Brax's performance got cut short because of the rain delay, but I think he could have gone maybe 6, maybe even 7 if somehow Skip let him go there. But Miami's offense did what they had to do, and Sandy arguably pitched his best game of the year aside from Minnesota. So good stuff all around, and thank God they swept because they would have screwed themselves over. They would have at least dropped 2 out of 3 against Boston and get swept by Atlanta. This would be a completely different conversation.
Yeah, I should say, I don't think it was as predictable in hindsight as you may be pinning it out to be. The big difference between these two series to me, Atlanta and Red Sox, was mostly the starting pitching. I mean, the starting pitching was as bad as they could be the last 3 days, but then going back to the Red Sox series, they were essentially perfect between Sandy and Brax and Luzardo in there. You never really know exactly when those guys are going to be 100% on top of their game, especially because the Red Sox they're a deep lineup, and that's a tough place to pitch. And the Red Sox, as they've shown in the game since then, they've put up big numbers against the Blue Jays the last few days. Like that was really impressive, and it started with the starting pitching. So that series, and then going back to the previous one as well, that week-long stretch was as good as the rotation has been all year. And we keep, being on the verge of seeing this rotation live up to expectations. And I think people get carried away. The reality is something a little bit less than kind of what we hope for. And, this weekend was a reminder of it, that those guys they could be the best of the best in that situation. But overall, this group is still, like, surprisingly, this team is in this position despite the starting pitching, not quite being a best case scenario so far this year.
Yeah, I think that definitely made the difference. And like Isaac said, it's kind of underwhelming, especially on defense, a lot of mental errors. That last game of the series, it felt like a game the Marlins just stole, but there's been a lot of those this year. There's been many, many differences between last year and this year where it's just like you expect the Marlins to do something. They're a really predictable team. I mean, the Marlins got no hit through 7 innings on Thursday, and they won the game. If they were getting no hit through 7 innings last year, it would have been no hit through 9 innings. So either way, it's good to see. We'll go on to the more depressing part against the Atlanta Braves, unless anyone has any final thoughts on Boston.
Shout out Brian Bayo. He is nasty. He pitched a great game. I forgot he had the Marlins no hit through 7.
Yeah. That's kind of a Marlins starting pitching job from him, where he throws in an absolute gem and then his team loses the game, especially from last year. Sandy vibes right there. But we'll go to the depressing part. Got swept in Atlanta. I can't even remember the last time the Marlins did get swept this season. It's been a minute. The Marlins put up some good fights. And Friday early on, they did put up a good fight. But once it got to like 9-3. It's kind of where they just gave up a little bit. It kind of rolled over. You can kind of tell as the weekend went on, especially late today, that they were just looking to get out of there. And there was some hope early on today. I mean, they got an early lead. It was their only lead of the series. And just folded. Sandy looked good early on. But then a couple mental mistakes by him. Some big mistakes from Jacob Stallings. Just kind of led to the Marlins seventh today. Discouraging weekend, I'd say. And I was talking about differences between last year and this year. If this series happened last year when they were riding a hot streak like they were this year, this would be the series that would end it all. This would be the one that would derail the season. It's going to be interesting to watch if that's going to happen this year. How will they fight back? They are playing a bad St. Louis Cardinals team for 4 games after this, which we'll talk about in our week preview here in a couple minutes. But the Marlins have the opportunity to get right before the All-Star break. Thank God they did sweep the Red Sox, because a 3-3 week, it doesn't set them back too much. I mean, 14 games over 500 is still better than 11 games over 500, but still 11 games over, still the top NL wildcard team, but the gap is thin just a little bit behind them. The Reds and Brewers had some winning weeks. Phillies are on fire, which they'll see this weekend. And then the 2 teams out west in LA and San Francisco also playing some good baseball. But anyways, with this series, again, Braves offense is amazing. It's the best lineup in baseball. They have lost 4 games since May 31st when they lost the series to the Oakland Athletics, which was shocking. And they've just gotten it completely together. They had 8 All-Stars named today. I mean, it's the best team in baseball, I think, without a doubt. I like watching the Rangers. I like watching the Rays. As much as I hate the Braves, they are the best team in baseball. But anything else you guys want to point out? Well, something I do want to point out real quick, though, is that tweet pinned at the top. Jazz was some discomfort on his left side. And we'll have to see how that progresses throughout the week. Someone who's really been trying to watch his health, and someone that we've all been trying to watch the health of. And hopefully no more setbacks for him after a week of coming back. But I'll open it up to thoughts on just deflating weekend series in Atlanta.
I do want to start at the end with the Jazz injury, an oblique injury. They're calling it oblique soreness for now. If it is a strain, then he is going to miss time, and he's probably going to be out for more than the minimum because of it. That's always a very tender area for anybody, for pitchers, and especially probably even more so for hitters than for anybody. So it stinks that as soon as they got him back, he was such a key to the Red Sox series. Even though a couple of those games were lopsided, he was doing everything, a little bit of everything in that series. And that's what he's capable of. So if he's going to be out again, then it's essentially what they were doing before when they were winning a lot of games, but it's more Garrett Hampson and it's a lot of Jonathan Davis. And Jonathan Davis, even today, he reminds you of the little things that he does well. He makes a lot of productive outs. I looked it up. He's one of the team leaders in terms of the ratio of productive outs that he makes. It's over 50%, getting guys in from third and just moving guys along. He gets his fair share of hits, he's just a decent overall player. He's above replacement level. There's still a big gap between him and Jazz. And I think if Jazz is going to miss any time, he's going to be missed again. And I don't know if they'll be able to win at the same clip without him as they did before. So that's a big bummer. And aside from that, it was, as I touched on before, alluded to before, with the Red Sox series being the best this starting pitching can be. In this against the Braves, it was as bad as possible. And obviously the biggest individual disappointment was Eury Perez going a third of an inning, just 1 out, and allowing his ERA about doubling in the span of 1 single outing, getting hit hard on all of his pitches, even his fastball. He looked healthy. He was throwing, his velo was normal, but he couldn't get anybody out. It was really hard to watch. In the grand scheme of things, not all that concerning at all. This happens to almost everybody at some point during the course of a year overall. So I'm not worried about it, but it is still a bummer because this would be such an amazing opportunity for him to legitimize himself as a future ace. And also, of course, that was, to me, the best chance the Marlins had to steal a game in this series in that middle game. And it turned out that they had no chance due to his performance in there. Thankfully, he is staying in the rotation for the time being. They're not like panicking and sending him down right away. So that's, I guess that's comforting that there's no overreaction internally to this, it seems. But to me, that's what stood out. Him and, to a lesser extent, Brian Hoeing. I don't know how many people were really relying or totally sold on Hoeing. Still, this is a guy that they need. They don't need him, but like he was somebody that made a lot of sense to stick in this rotation for the near-term future until the other guys get healthier again. So that's a big step back for Hoeing, unfortunately. With him kind of coming back down to earth.
Yeah, this is one of those series where you just have to hope doesn't derail guys' confidence. Just take your 3 L's and get out of there. Hopefully, Hoeing comes back strong. Hopefully, Erie comes back strong. That was the first really tough outing of Erie's career. It's a second loss, but it was the first really tough L that he took through only a third of an inning. But good news is the Marlins did innings with that. Still unclear if they're going to shut him down this week, and if so, who takes his spot. I'm sure that'll get brought up once we get the questions, which we're getting close to soon. Any final thoughts on this Braves series before we preview this week ahead?
I think it just shows you how good the Braves are. We knew they were good. We know they're damn good, but man, they're the best team in baseball. I think, and if we disagree, I don't know what to tell you, but the way the Braves are playing right now, they're probably the World Series favorites, and it's not really close. So that's all I'll say. I'll give them their flowers. They deserve it. But Miami needs to play better. The pitching, I think Eli said it perfectly. You look one series to another, it's completely different what we saw from the pitching. And Sandy, for the most part, looked pretty good until I think it was just Jacob Stallings messing up. Or kind of got mental from there where Albie's at the 2-run homer, and it basically derailed his start. So, but props to the Braves, and Miami now has a big week coming up. You have the Cardinals and division rival Phillies, who aren't too far behind you.
I just wanted to mention really quick, just on this Braves series, just how deep the Atlanta Braves are. I think, you going into when you just compare the lineups, it's just been a no-brainer that Atlanta was going to win this series. You look at everyone, it seems like everyone is an all-star, or, when we get to the all-star game, everyone in this lineup will most likely might be an all-star. Acuna, Albies, Michael Harris, Arcia, just the bottom 2 guys. It was just the Marlins were severely outclassed lineup-wise.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what's going on over there and how they've got all these guys on these deals and how they've constructed this lineup. And by the way, I don't know what the Oakland Athletics were doing, giving him Sean Murphy and Matt Olson for scraps, but I could have a whole space just complaining about the way the Braves constructed their roster. But good GMs do that. You have to hand it to them. But Isaac, did you want to add something before we head to the preview?
Oh, no, sir. I think Daniel said it pretty well, because when your 8 and 9 hitters are the National League starting shortstop and the reigning Rookie of the Year, you've got a pretty fun lineup. And it's just, the Marlins practically fixed Ozuna for them, too. So he's hitting, and everyone is just killing the ball right now for them. So it was not too surprising, but I really thought that Sandy kept him in this game today, and he did his job. I know he had some really bad luck behind the plate, and the Marlins were having really bad luck with calls against them, batting. I think it was pretty clear that outside part of the plate was going to have a really wide strike zone against left-handed hitters, and Strider, with his pinpoint command, was able to really execute really well today. And there you go. You lose 4th or whatever the final score was.
Yeah, it was like 6-3 today.
Yeah, they had a great home run, made it, whatever it was.
Yeah, I think they over hit in all 3 games, which is nuts for a series with starting pitching that was out there this weekend. But the Braves will do that to you. I mean, you brought it up too, Strider. I want to take a second with him. I mean, his second year in the league, and I think he's going to win the Cy Young in the National League. I don't know who else. Well, maybe Gallen. I don't know. It's a long season, but
I don't think he wins the Cy Young. But I do want to say that, one, I was happy to see the adjustments they made in that second inning. Obviously, I don't know why Strider is so much better third time through the order, but significantly better. And then I was a little disappointed to see their lack of an adjustment against Charlie Morton. That's someone that they faced a lot of times. Jazz personally has a lot of success against him, and he was just able to mow down the Marlins like it was nothing. And that was, I think, the most disappointing game of the 3.
I would agree. I would. All right. Well, this week's a good chance to get right. Escaped the last week 500, so back to basics entering this week. 11 games over. Big opportunity to keep padding that lead over 500 before you get to the absolute gauntlet that is August. But this week's also no cupcake either. 4-game series against the Cardinals, who are pretty bad this year. I think they're one of the most disappointing teams. There's been a lot of disappointing teams, especially in the National League, between the Mets and the Padres, who I think their payrolls are like combined underneath just $1 billion. The Cardinals have been really disappointing, but I'm a little worried just because of the Marlins' lack of success against the Cardinals recently. I can't remember the last time they won a series against the Cardinals. I think it was either last year or the year before. The Marlins swept the season series against them. So it's not a team they've had great success against. But there's a shot to win this 4-game series, and then the weekend series against the Philadelphia Phillies, who are also pretty hot right now. That's a really, really big series within the NL East, especially because now the Braves have just put themselves in a tier above everyone else just in the National League, let alone the East. It's going to be a battle for that second place supremacy in the NL East for sure. And the Marlins have had some success against the Phillies, and I'm really looking forward to that one. I think that series, if any, will really tell us what this team is. We still don't know yet. So if you hear lightning in the background, it's pouring. But anything you guys are looking at coming into this week ahead?
Just be aware. This is a team, the Cardinals are, that are coming off a very fun series they had against the Yankees in Busch Stadium, and they played very well against a decent, okay Yankees team at the moment. So just be aware, Miami never plays well against these Cardinals ever, whether they have Yachty or not. It's a very, very tough ball club for this team for some reason, whether it's in St. Louis or Miami. So just you got to pray for a split in these 4. That's my opinion. You just be very happy, satisfied with a split here.
Getting a split would be big, because then if you win the Philly series, you escape the week, game above 500. And if you win the series, then you can afford to drop a game in the Phillies series. It won't really hurt you.
Right. This is sort of like a situation that we just had with the Red Sox and the Braves. At least split, preferably win 3 out of 4, so that way you're prepared to lose in case you do against the Phillies that are also extremely hot right now and swinging the bats well, and who as of late have played better against Miami than in years previous.
Yeah, despite the Cardinals not being good this year, they Miami's not too good against them. So just try to get out with the split. Your pitching isn't the strongest this week either. At least, I like it's Brian Hoeing who's the strongest pitcher this week and this series. I'm sorry, and then we'll see how Yuri comes out after the worst start of his major league career. Thus far.
But we don't even know if he's pitching yet.
Yeah, we do. He is listed.
He will. He didn't even go an inning against Atlanta.
Hey, he's listed already as the problem.
I hope he does. I would much rather see him than potentially Johnny Cueto or whoever they could possibly think about.
Michael Lorenzen?
Congratulations.
Hey, we can talk about him later.
We'll have fan questions about the All-Star game. We'll talk about it. You guys have, again, it's a Marlins space. If you guys have any questions about baseball, feel free to ask. I mean, we're all baseball fans first and foremost. Like, we love sport. If you guys have any All-Star game thoughts, we will answer them.
I wanted to talk a little bit about sorry to cut you off, Kevin, about this Cardinals one. Because, again, not to overlook it, because you look at their lineup, you look at the quality of players that they have. Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt, who just won MVP last season. Jordan Walker, who's probably still the top prospect in baseball, despite I think he already graduated and whatnot. Just still one of the best out there, hitting-wise, offensively in terms of rookies. You have Brendan Donovan, who could be, I don't want to see a future Marlin, but someone they can look at. Paul DeJong, who's really having a great year. I know they have Wilson Contreras, who's not really having his great season, but that's a guy against the Marlins who can easily have a big series. So realistically, this is still a team that they do have to worry about. They do have guys also like Tommy Edman. So they might not be at 500, but the quality of lineup screams over 500 and guys you don't want to overlook.
It's not really a lack of hitters on their part. So you're right, on paper it looks like a scary lineup, but almost every single one of them is just not hitting up to their career norms. It's just the pitching with St. Louis that's just been into the offseason all year long. They have no pitching. If Miami doesn't hit, they're not going to win in this series particularly.
And it'll be concerning because St. Louis's pitching is not the greatest. I mean, I'm pretty sure Wainwright isn't even having a good year. Michael has got off to a pretty bad start. He's kind of looked better. And then you have Flaherty and Steven Matz. So we'll see.
Jordan Montgomery threw a pretty good game today.
He did.
So we got that out of the way.
They're technically escaping him, yeah.
Technically, yeah. They're that true ace. I thought Flaherty could maybe be that guy in the past, but
no. All of their starting pitches are sporting an ERA above 4.40, aside from Montgomery. So it's a tough rotation for them too, and the bullpen's not doing too well either. Jordan Hicks still throws gas, I believe. So that's about it for them. I think is Helsley hurt?
I don't have Gallegos. Yeah, I think we still have Jojo Romero. So it's a wacky bullpen, but one that can still give the
Helsley's
trouble
hurt.
for sure.
Yeah. Helsley's absolutely.
I don't want to look too far ahead, but what's the situation with Cueto exactly? Because Fangraphs has him listed as the starter for Saturday.
Well, I'm sure someone will ask about that. So let's get to the fan part.
Yeah.
It's good. I don't know what's going to happen with him. We'll see. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed that. We tried to cut down this week in review. This kind of stuff because the last week we went 2.5 hours. We had a record number of questions. I believe we talked to 18 or 19 people last week. It was really good. So thank you guys. I didn't know what listenership would be like this week. A little less requests than that this week, but we got plenty of time. We'll talk about any baseball Marlins topic you want to talk about. But first, consider becoming a super subscriber, super follower, whatever you want to call it. It is through our website. It is a minimum of $3 a month, and it's all access to Fish on First everything. You get the game notes before the games that they give to the media. I call it the Marlins Bible. You get to play fantasy sports with us. You can Romeo won our fantasy football league. Get prizes for that. We have our own super subscriber fantasy baseball league. We have series predictions where you can make predictions. The winner of that gets something. Daniel's profile picture, he's got a Acevedo shirt on. He won that from predictions last year. Giveaways. I believe someone just won some free tickets to a game. So, and again, this is just $3 a month. It is absolutely worth it. And the reason why we bring it up here is because one of the other benefits is you get first priority to speak in these spaces. And if you were doing the spaces last week, that definitely came in clutch when we talked to almost 20 people. So no super subscribers requested, but we'll bring in Uma. Again, anyone, as long as you appear to be a Marlins fan and not a troll, we've had some instances of that. You can request. And any baseball Marlins topic you guys have or question-wise, we will answer. So Uma's in here. So how are you tonight? What's your question?
I'm good. So I guess my question, it kind of comes back to Sandy. So I've always liked Sandy, but I've always had some issues with his pitching. I mean, even going back to like when he was on the Cardinals, like there was always issues that apparently I didn't know existed where there were his breaking ball wasn't good, and that despite him being a power pitcher, it seems as if he doesn't realize that he fully is a power pitcher. So he tries to go for ground balls instead of just going for the strikeout. So I guess without the shift, I guess my question would be, do you guys think that because Sandy somewhat absolutely either he refuses to kind of accept that he is a power pitcher or he truly cannot strike people out with his pitches, do you guys think that going in the future that maybe what we're seeing now is probably going to be the Sandy Alcantara of like the future?
When he was having his struggles, I theorized that it was because of the shift, and when he was struggling, he sort of changed his way of pitching and tried to become that strikeout guy, not like Strider, but just strike out more guys because he knows that the contact is going to find holes more often than not this year, more than it did last year, certainly. And I think that's what you see when you see high pitch counts, high 10 pitch at bats. I think he couldn't put away Albies, for example, today. I think he's a better pitcher when he does just put the ball on the ground, even with the shift, the band shift. Is just a better way for him to pitch, in my opinion. I don't see him as a striker guy. He doesn't have crazy spin rates on any of his pitches, so he's not going to miss an insane amount of bats. So I think prime vintage Sandy is going to be that pitch to contact guy who will strike out 5 or 6 in a complete game and keep it under 110 pitches. That, to me, that's the way he's going to succeed. He's just going to have to get back to it, and get used to the defense that's behind him.
Any other thoughts on that one? I think that was very well said. for sure.
I guess, what is it? I don't know. Seems like Sandy just doesn't really. It's like he really doesn't. Like, his fastball is pretty good, but I feel like I don't know how long he can sustain his career as like a really high level pitcher without the shift. And now we're kind of seeing like those ground ball pitchers are kind of starting to get phased out because no more shift, no more. Now you're just pitching into open avenues on the field. So it's kind of, I don't know. If, I guess my opinion would be like, do you guys actually think like he'll be able to bring it back down? Because we're approaching at the point where it's like, if Sandy wants to even bring his ERA to like a respectable level, he would have to have like 10 straight starts of like less than 2 runs allowed. And I just don't see him ever doing that this whole year.
Well, I would say, in terms of Sandy's future production, he is capable of getting a lot of strikeouts. That's not his kind of ordeal. It's not his style, as you say. He's a ground ball pitcher, and coming into the season, I was concerned with that with defense, especially with a mismatch of guys like Arise at second. You had the platoon at shortstop, and then Segura playing third, which, it's still pretty much that way. And that right side of the infield has been pretty good defensively. Arise has, I think, blown a lot of people's expectations out of the water defensively at second. But, the shift has definitely played a factor. Miami's defense, I think it's better than what people thought it would be coming into the year, but it's still not great. I don't know, like, the advanced metrics. These other guys would probably have the numbers, like, off the top of their head. I don't. But Sandy is capable of high volume of strikeouts if he wants to change his pitching style at some point in his career. I don't know if he would want to do that, but I think a lot of it's also mental stuff too. And I think I want to put a little bit, pin it on the guy behind the dish too. I think Stallings, his time should be up at least with Sandy. Try something different with Fortes, and if he can string together a couple good starts, maybe that's the end of it for Stallings in that pairing. But we've been saying this for months too, and nothing has changed. So I feel like I'm just screaming into the void now by saying get Stallings out of there. But I hope that gives you at least some clarity. But it's a fascinating case, especially with a lot of guys this year. You got like Manoah, Verlander, like a lot of guys who just had really, really bad years that were so good last year. A lot of Cy Young front runners and the 2 Cy Young winners last year, but they've been bad this year.
When you look at the guys that are doing well, Gallen and Strider in the National League, 2 very high strikeout guys. So maybe Uba has a point. People are going to have to reinvent themselves a little bit. Well, guys like Sandy, anyway, are going to have to maybe pitch a little bit differently.
Yeah, and then again, Sandy's capable of racking up Ks if he wants. I don't know what his career high strikeouts is in a game, but I think he's hit double digits.
I believe it's 14 against the Mets one day. 14. Eli? Maybe he's not here.
I've returned. I've returned just on time. What is the question?
Sandy's high strikeouts in the game.
His career high. Yeah, he had 14 against the Mets that one time.
Yeah. There you have it. Yeah, he's capable of it. It's not his style. He would love to get through 9 innings and 100 pitches, as we all know. But with no shift and the Marlins defense not being elite, those days might be over. So, we just got to see how the second half of this season ends. I think if he can get back right mentally, he'll be good. But we've seen encouraging signs from him, and I'm not too worried about today because, 1, it was the Braves. 2, Stallings made some really bad mistakes behind the plate today. It all kind of came crashing down after that. So, yeah, it is what it is. But do you have any other questions for us?
No, not really.
All right, well, we appreciate it, man. That was a good question. It was a good lead-off. Thank you very much. Weird not having Romeo lead us off. Elon's really ruined their spaces, man. No Romeo today. We're bringing in Specs. Get a question. Hey, guys. Again, anyone who's a Marlins fan, go ahead and request, man. We want all the questions today. So how are you doing, and what's your question?
I'm doing all right. First of all, I want to thank Fish on First and Eli for the tickets. For the tickets giveaway. I won them while fishing the other day.
Yeah, he's a super subscriber, Grant.
Yeah. So everybody,
I figured
subscribe.
you were, so that's why I brought you in. I couldn't remember if it was you who won the giveaway or not, but you would say it's worth it. You pay $3 a month, you just got free tickets.
Yes, absolutely, man. It's worth it. Now,
Yeah.
I hate to have my tinfoil cap on, but I've been watching the bottom of the 8th inning a couple of times. I think these guys are cheating, man. I know this sounds really stupid, but I want everybody to watch the bottom of the 8th inning. And you got to listen to a specific woman scream for the pitch. If she screams, it's a breaking ball. If she doesn't scream, it's a fastball. It's pretty prevalent in Pilar's at bat and Darno's at bat as well.
This is just the bottom of the 8th?
That's why I noticed it the most. I mean, if anything, I'll rewatch the whole game again if I have to. But
you got me thinking now. I think I'm gonna, if they have the what's it called? If they have the game on, like the, oh my God, what's the word? Like whatever, tape delay, like on MLB TV. I'm gonna watch it because I'm intrigued.
Yeah, it's the bottom of the 8th. It's pretty prevalent. It's when a woman screams, it's a breaking ball. They do what Nardi was pitching for sure.
I'll keep an eye out for it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say it explicitly. I don't want to accuse anyone of cheating, but what the Braves are doing this year, everyone's having a career year. Everyone's playing really good baseball on that team right now. I'll keep an eye out for it. I appreciate the tip.
Did it happen during Yuri's outing yesterday? Is that what?
I didn't watch the game yesterday. I'll probably watch the replay, but there's like this distinct woman scream right before the pitch.
Okay.
Watch the bottom of the 8th.
Yeah, no, I'm watching. I have them here.
All right, guys.
You got it right now?
It happens with Olsen too.
Olsen, nobody screamed. He swung on the fastball.
We could go viral if we clip this and point it out.
No. I'm just curious to see what he's talking about.
All right, guys. Well, anyways, thank you. You guys have a good night.
Please
You
send
too,
us
man.
the clip.
Thanks for the heads up.
Please send us the clip.
Well, I'm going to go rewatch it once we're done with this. I think we'll all have seen it by the time that we're done here. We'll bring in Sharif, who's a de facto super subscriber because he cannot subscribe from the Bahamas. You got him loading in. I am intrigued, though. Again, I don't want to accuse anyone of cheating, but that being pointed out, I'll look for it. So, Sharif, what's up, man? And what are your questions tonight?
Good night to everyone. Man, listen, man, don't scare me like that, man. Because I thought it was only me. There was a considerable amount of noise during the series before pitches, and notice that hoeing comes with a lot of breaking balls, and also Yuri. A lot of his hits to left field were breaking pitches. So I'm gonna have to rewatch all of our games. And not only that, the gentleman brought up that the Braves hitters are having career years. Who the hell is Murphy and Olsen? And I would expect Albies and Acuna, and me like Rosario. Something is going on. Something is going on, and they think that we're not going to dig. We're in fact going to dig now because of this, and because it's now. Hey, if they did great study on our pitches, shout out to their staff. Brett Brown is also a good hitting coach for us. Did he fail? Did Mel fail on the pitching zones? What he asked our pitchers to do? It's interesting that you brought that up. And my only question would be, in terms of our hitting, but Jazz is down now. I think that guys coming back, like Jazz just coming back, Segura just coming back, and then launching themselves into an important series like this, I think it's a great eye opener. If you look at it on the other side, it's a great blood to taste in their mouth. And I think when they come back against Atlanta, we're going to see a different Marlins. I'll let someone else get in, and thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right, we got one more request. So we're under an hour, which is a vast difference from last week. So anyone who has a question, even if you're one of the ones who's already talked, man, hop in here. We'll talk to anyone who is a Marlins fan. If you're a Braves fan, don't do it. What's up, man? And what's your question?
Yo, what's up, guys? My name's Mike. I'm more so a lurker, but I figured I'd hop on the call tonight. I know we kind of talked about Sandy a little bit, but one thing I'm wondering about the Fortes versus Stallings situation, do you guys think that Skip, who's just like, this worked so well last year, Stallings is the guy? Do you think it's him? Do you think they're worried about how Fortes calls the game? Like, at this point, I'm just so confused. Why not mix it up? Just want to know what you guys think.
No, it's Sandy. It's Sandy's call. It's Sandy's decision. Sandy wants Stallings behind the plate every single time. I've asked a lot of people around the team on this one, and yeah, it's Sandy's call, and until he says otherwise, they're not going to tinker with it.
I got that, and I see it. He sees him as his guy, but I'm wondering how long he's gonna feel good with it, and I'm sure it's a weird thing to have to sever that relationship, but if the same thing isn't working over and over again, it's driving me crazy. I don't think Fortes is great, but I'm just, it's that unknown. Maybe if we try it, maybe it'll be a little better.
Yeah, and I wouldn't necessarily put Sandy's struggles on Stallings at all, but there are some things where I do think Fortes would be an upgrade when it comes to throwing and blocking, the other, stuff like those. But the intangibles are what Sandy really likes, and yeah, I don't disagree. It'd be worth a shot, and my question would be how long until the team sort of maybe tells Sandy instead of keeps asking him who he'd like to be behind the dish. Because I wonder if in a playoff game they'd still go with Stallings. But anyway, for now it's going to be Stallings for the foreseeable future, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's on the roster for the rest of the season, even if it's just to catch Sandy.
Right on. Thanks for that. And I got one more thing for you guys. I actually live in Jacksonville, so I see the AAA games pretty often. The other thing's driving me crazy. We all know Dane Myers killing it. But last year, Encarnacion Guerrero was going crazy. That dude cannot hit a thing right now. I mean, he had 16 homers, but some of those at-bats are so hard to watch, and that regression is killing me. I feel like we obviously know we can't develop hitters, but to see somebody that I was so hyped on last summer just take such a huge step back, it's crushing me, guys.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. Frankly, I was thinking of putting something together because for people that are not aware, he leads all of minor league baseball in strikeouts by a big, big margin too, while also, not exactly adding a ton of value in the other aspects of the game outside of hitting homers. It's been disappointing, so much so that for a guy that I think this is his final minor league option year, it wouldn't be shocking if a few weeks from now or a month from now we talk about him as a DFA candidate, because what's the likelihood of him, being a solid major leaguer at this point? Although there seemed to be legit signs last year. They gave him run in the big leagues and he just couldn't catch up to major league fastballs. And then this year, as you touched on, it's not only velocity, it is a wide variety of issues that's leading to him striking out, 40% of the time, even though it's a level that he has already played at. It's highly concerning. It's a bit of a bummer for sure, considering that, he seemed to be on the doorstep of doing something interesting. He still has amazing raw power to all fields. And he even still has a really good arm in the outfield too, that sometimes makes up for the other shortcomings over there. But it's looking pretty bleak for him, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's sad, but I'm just I don't know. With a guy who's fallen off that hard, I mean, he's OPSing 755, which doesn't sound horrible when you think of him last year at 868. It's just fallen off a cliff, And I'm wondering, I'm hoping we can capture some energy with Dane Myers, get him up, and hopefully not let another hopeful hitter become just another guy in the system.
Yeah. And a shameless plug that we have a new pod with Dane Myers that just went out on Friday. So that's on our podcast feed. This recording is going up on our podcast feed too. So if anybody's listening to it there, just scroll down a couple episodes and you'll find our conversation with Dane, because he's got a super unique path. And he's just waiting his turn at this point because he's not slowing down whatsoever at AAA. And it's a lot of fun to watch him He's doing it while striking out. I put it up. His strikeout rate, 14%, not 40, like some of these other guys that are kind of petering out as prospects. He is doing everything right. Everything.
Awesome. I'll check it out. Thanks for taking my call, guys.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for requesting. Looks like you set a precedent, though. We got a bunch of requests now. We'll get Romeo in here. Super subscriber privilege. Again, just $3 a month. All access to everything. If you enjoy these, we got them loading in. All right, what's up, Romeo?
How's it going? First thing, become a super subscriber to fish on first. The great stuff there. All right, hold on, give me a second. Last 7 games, 1 win, 1.17 ERA with 3 saves. 2 against both against LA teams. 1 against the Dodgers, 1 against the Angels. Our right-handed relief pitchers have been horrible since like the start of May. I don't know what's gonna need to be able to push the needle on a guy like Justin Lawrence. I'm really being honest here.
One of us will do a trade target article on him. It might be me. Someone else beats me to it. That's all right. But I'm sold on the guy. You sold me on him. He's good.
I want to find this clip against JD Martinez, and it was absolutely nasty. Oh my! Hold on 1 second. I have to remove it on the pen, but.
Well, yes. While you bring it up, I should brief people that it is an interesting point now, the idea of addressing the right-handed side of this bullpen. Floro got off to an amazing start to the season. He's gradually slipped, and you'd have to say over the last month or so, he's been mediocre. Aside from him, Brazoban the same way. Brazoban was early in the year, we were talking about him as maybe the most valuable member of this bullpen. And with him, he's been recently seems to have gotten things straightened out. I still like his upside quite a bit. It's just that the experience is so limited, and his control issues, I think, are always going to come and go with him. So he's not somebody that you really want in high leverage situations all the time. And Matt Barnes, he's getting healthy. He'll be back in a matter of days. But with him at this stage of his career, the upside is not particularly high with him as well. So I think you can actually make the case that if the right deal presents itself, adding a right-handed reliever is plausible, and it could be sensible. It's not the top priority, but it is more on my radar now than it was even a few weeks ago.
It was. I just had it in my head, but I put the clip up there. I seen it on the Valley Sports game when Nardi was in. I think what's his inherited run rate is like 4 point something. It's like he leads the MLB in his inherited run rate. When I was watching that game against Boston, I haven't really looked at it since then, but I knew it was under. I think it was still in the single digits the last time I had seen it. I think he led the MLB in not allowing inherited runs like that at all. Something else that I feel like you should add. I gotta really look at it, and I can get you your number, or one of you guys that really know how to get in there, because I really don't know how to use MLB references and stuff, because I just like to watch. I'm not really a stats guy. This is the only player I really get into my stats with, because he's good, he's underrated, and not many people know about him.
And he's Panamanian.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
I'm still mad that we stopped Emmanuel Burgos from pitching, and then we proceeded to cut him like halfway into April, but I'm not going to get into that. I won't say anything. Same thing with Cardinals. The Cardinals, they didn't let Ivan Herrera play for us, and now they have like no interest in calling him up. So why not send him if you're not going to play him on your opening day roster? But we're not going to get into that.
You could be Marlin. We don't know. We'll see. All right, is that all you had?
Yeah, bro, my Twitter was broken today. It was not letting me send any tweets, but have a good day.
Everyone's is broken right now. If you're not, if you don't have Twitter Blue, it's pretty depressing. But yeah, we appreciate it, Romeo. We will let's get riding here, man. We got Hoagies. Well, all right, we'll double them up. Whoever wants to go first between you two.
There you go.
Go ahead.
Hey guys, first time caller. I'm not a Marlins fan from the Marlins
from Detroit, and I was calling more of just an idea of trying to learn more about the Marlins fan base and the idea that in Detroit here with the Lions, not exactly the Tigers correlation, we have a phrase called "same old Lions" (SOL), where every time the Lions organization, players, whatever it is, does something bad, it's same old Lions every year, falls apart. I've been recently having that type of feeling when it comes to the trade deadline, when it comes to same old Marlins and the idea of fumbling the bag, making a bad trade, whatever it would be, not doing something in a time where it feels like you could. I was wondering if that's something that you guys yearly feel as a wider audience, or if that's just something me as a Detroit Lions recipient go through.
Well, last year was pretty disappointing, but in hindsight, you could say that it was good because a lot of people wanted Pablo traded last deadline, but thank God they waited because none of the offers on the table tops what they got from Minnesota. Even though they had to give up Jose Salas, who's been bad this year in minor league baseball. Luis Urias is chasing a 400 batting average, and Bob Pablo's been good. Everyone knew he was going to get traded. And they only made one trade last year, and I'll finally admit it, I'm kind of done with Jordan Groshans as well. I was holding out hope. I'm done. They traded two solid relievers who are having good career years for him. So, yeah, the trade deadline last year was pretty disappointing. We thought it was going to be crazy. The year before was up and down trades, but of course, got Jesus Luzardo for Starling Marte. So since Kim's kind of controlled the trade deadline, it's been up and down. But one thing she's really good at is making something out of nothing. She got this year's closer for JJ Bolday, who's bad. Okay, he's bad. I know he technically had a walk-off yesterday, but JJ Bolday's bad. AJ Puck was a guy they took a chance on, former 6th overall pick, and he was amazing. He's been amazing so far this year. This year's deadline, however, I actually think this is going to be a massive one for the Marlins because this is the last year on Kim Ng's deal. I think she's probably done enough to secure at least a one-year extension, but the Marlins are 100% in a position to buy. And if Kim wants to solidify her stay as the MLB general manager, she's going to have to buy pieces because I think if the Marlins do have to rebuild because of a bad deadline, they're not going to let Kim lead it, I would imagine. I don't know, but I wouldn't imagine that would be the case. So this is a really big deadline for the Marlins. I made a list the other night of 4 things I really think they need to complete this team. Like a middle-of-the-order bat with like a right-handed bullpen guy, with like a back-end-of-the-rotation starter, and with like a catcher. I don't know if we're not going to get all 4 on this Marlins squad, but any combination of that, it would help a lot, especially the middle of the order bat. Getting Marte in 2020 when Michael Hill was at the helm, that kind of just revived the season for a second. The Marlins were kind of on a little bit of a skid heading into that deadline that year, but that just rejuvenated everything. But to your question, I would not say it's going to be same old Marlins. I don't think so. And the Marlins are one of the more active teams at the deadline every year. Just Kim's kind of her problem in the past was closing deals. The not giving up on the Pablo Twins deal showed me that she's vastly improved from that. I actually, back when we were Fish Stripes, I went back to an article one day that, and during it was like our daily fish test, that Eli had written that it seems that the Marlins are out on Luis Urias, kind of pivots to Royce Lewis or whoever. And sure enough, they still got him Rise. So it's telling me that Kim's not going to give up at this point. And I'm excited for this deadline. I think the Marlins make at least 2 good deals.
I'm really happy to hear that. Thanks for answering my question, guys. I really love what you guys do.
I appreciate it, man. All right. We got Ryan here. He is a subscriber.
What's up, guys? Tonight? Yeah, I was just wondering, I don't know if you guys already talked about this earlier in the show. I wasn't on, I just came on. But I was wondering, do you guys think that the Marlins will actually let Braxton Garrett pitch in the All-Star game if he gets selected as an injury replacement?
I don't think there's any concern with Garrett's pitch count, is there?
Well, it kind of, he's not like top of mind, but actually, I don't think they would hold him back from pitching if he does get in. The way that his schedule lines up, he's going to pitch tomorrow, and his next scheduled start would be Saturday. And then the All-Star game on Tuesday would be his normal throw day, which means that he would, physically, it's on his routine. It lines up pretty well for him. I don't know. Is there an idea that he would actually get on to this? I haven't taken a super close look at the pitchers selected and their throwing schedules. But, if he dominates again tomorrow, and if there are several guys that are unavailable for that game and he sneaks in, I think he should absolutely take advantage of it. And I think the team would as well. I think they're more realistic about him and his long-term trajectory than some of their other guys, meaning that, with all due respect, this might be the only time in his career that the stars align and he's on the top of his game to make an all-star team. He doesn't profile as the perennial all-star guy. This has been an amazing first half for him. And if he is able to get in through the back door, then I think he would pitch if things align, with him. But just as I think Grant brought up, for the season overall, he's a big question in terms of how he will handle innings that he hasn't thrown before. This workload that he's on the pace for this year is really far beyond what he's ever had before in his career, because he's had little injuries in recent years, on top of course, having Tommy John a while ago. But he's never pitched anything resembling a full-length season, making every single scheduled start. And that'll be something to monitor down the road. It's something to monitor with everybody in this rotation, with the exception of Sandy.
Yeah, I hope that they let him pitch, because I'd love to see Braxton Garrett pitch in the All-Star game. He's one of my favorite Marlins pitchers this season, probably top 3 for me. But just what I would be concerned about is I don't know if the Marlins maybe want to give him a rest, just because of, like you said, how much he's pitched this year. He's never really been a permanent member of the rotation like this. He's normally just been a fill-in guy. He's dealt with injuries, so it would definitely be a little concern, the workload. But I really hope the Marlins let him pitch, because I know he would probably love to pitch himself.
At the end of the day, it's probably just going to be one inning. Usually the only guys that go more than an inning are the openers, the actual starters in the game. And even then, those guys usually get pulled after an inning. So for a guy like him, it's not that much of a concern. However, if Gary Perez were to somehow luck into an all-star bid, they probably wouldn't do it, because every inning is precious with him since they're pushing the limit. But one, I don't know if Braxton has an innings limit. Maybe whoever's in the ballpark. I think it's both Kevin and Isaac tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Maybe they can find an answer on that. We don't know. That would actually be a pretty good skip question, as we're nearing a pretty or a part where it's kind of uncharted waters for some of these younger pitchers. You're right. But I think for Braxton, it would just be one inning. He may never have a chance to go back, because I don't want to accuse someone of having a fluke year, but we don't know how sustainable this is, especially just because he's not exactly like a young guy at this point. But it's exciting to see. I hope he gets in 100%.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for answering my question. And I'm going to head out now. That's all I got. But to everyone listening, just a reminder, obviously, to go support Fish on First and become a super subscriber, because I really love what they're doing. All right. Next person can come on now.
Hey, we appreciate it, man. As always, thank you. We got the Big O here. Bring him in. And any Marlins fan, any baseball fans got a question, could come and request. Even if they're a Braves fans, let me hear your thoughts on the weekend series if you got them. But what's up, man, and what's your question?
I'm going to assume it's me. Thank you, Grant, for giving me the opportunity to speak. Definitely thinking about being a super subscriber. You guys are doing amazing work. My question to you is, how are we looking to get Salvi? And by Salvi, I mean Salvador Perez, the captain of Team Venezuela, to come over to Miami and lead this team to a World Series. Because if we compare what the Braves did in their catching position, they had a pretty good catching core with their starting catcher, Travis Darno. And they said, hey, I'm going to one-up this by getting Sean Murphy. So I'm just curious to see if maybe we can get somebody kind of like what Ivan Rodriguez did in 2003 to come in and lead this team. Salvi wouldn't be that bad.
I hate to burst your bubble with it. And while I think the catcher position might be something the Marlins look at, I'd probably guarantee it's not Salvador Perez for one big factor, and it's money. He's owed a lot of money over the next few years, and he's older. And he's the last piece of that Royals core from the 2015 World Series team. He's probably a lifer, in all honesty. I don't think they would dare trade him unless it's for a really good offer. And the Marlins aren't going to empty the table for him, especially because money. If they didn't have, I would say, Garcia on the books, they didn't have G. Segura on the books. Yeah, why not look at it? Because at that point, your payroll is not like crazy. It's the highest Marlins payroll's ever been, I believe. But if you take out Avi, you take out Segura, take out whoever's wasting money right now. It's not a lot of money, but Salvador Perez is owed a lot of money for an old catcher at this point. So I don't think it'll be him. It'll be someone with control, someone who's cheap. Ivan Herrera, like Romeo brought up, maybe him. Elias Diaz, John Gomes. Then again, I don't even know if the Marlins get a catcher at this deadline, but you're right. Ivan Rodriguez Pudge in 03 was a massive get and like ultimately helped them win the World Series that year. But offensively, the catching position, I don't think has ever been worse right now. So you're not going to fix that. I think Adley Rutschman, Sean Murphy, Will Smith, and surprisingly Jonah Heim are like your four top guys in the league catching wise right now. Offensively, there's still a lot of guys to do with things well behind the plate, but right now you're not going to be able to plug that hole. And like Isaac had mentioned when he was in here, they may ride it out with Stallings all year. I don't think Stallings on the opening day roster in 2024 unless Sandy demands it, but there's no guarantee. And the Marlins catching position is probably second worst in baseball right now if it's not the Guardians. But yeah, I hate to burst your bubble about Salvador Perez, but I think Bish had put out an article a while ago when he talked to him when the Royals were in town that he's not really looking to get dealt anywhere, and financially it just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, the Royals would not trade him, and just as much, I don't think Salvador wants to be traded. Salvi has a full no trade protection on him at this stage of his career, so it goes both ways. There's really just not a superstar catcher to realistically dream about getting at this deadline. There is an all-star catcher being Elias Diaz that I've had circled for a while, and he continues to be an above-average hitter, an above-average defender, even though his track record is very mixed, even though he is right around Stallings' age range, so you don't know exactly when the bottom is going to fall out on him physically. He has a year of control beyond this year. He's on a team that's definitely going to sell in the Rockies. And I think yet all things considered, I think he's at a price where the Marlins actually have enough prospect pieces to move without totally emptying their farm. So I think he is the realistic best case scenario for them, at least in terms of what they could do in the middle of the year on the fly like this.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And you're right. The Venezuelan connection would have been awesome, especially with how great the Venezuelan fan base is with Miami. But financially, it just wouldn't make a ton of sense. We'll bring back in Romeo here.
Elias Diaz is Venezuelan too.
Is he?
Yeah.
There you have it. I'm not going to go with my nationalities. Need to get better. Romeo's back. What do we got? And by the way, any last calls for speakers since we're out of requests? If you want to hop in, go ahead. Shorter spaces tonight. Thanks, Elon. But what's up, Romeo? Romeo, you're back, man.
He's here. He's unmuted.
He's unmuted, but he's not there at his phone.
He's not making any noise. He is.
Let me look at the replies to this tweet and see if there's anything. Any good questions? Because sometimes we'll have like 20, 25.
I can look in our YouTube feed. We do simulcast this stuff on YouTube for people that aren't aware.
We got a request.
And if we have any replies there that I like.
All right. I'm trying to load in a speaker. Here we go. We got Brandon. And Romeo's back in too. We'll have Brandon go first. What's up, man? And what's your question?
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. First time speaking. Appreciate everything you guys do. Just a quick question: if Jazz goes on the IL, and I know this oblique injury it could be pretty serious, right? Do you think we go out and try and get an outfielder in the deadline? Kind of to hate to say it, but kind of to replace him.
Well, I think they could get an outfielder that's a power bat, not just to replace him. You can't really replace Jazz, debatably. I don't know, that's a topic for another day. But an oblique strain would keep him out. What? Eli said it would be more than the minimum. It would be more than 15 days, probably about a month or so.
Yeah, we don't know exactly depending on the severity. It's always more than the minimum. It's almost always. I shouldn't say always, but it's almost always, through the end of the All-Star break. But it's different grades of it. It's going to be somewhere you would think between 2 weeks and 5 weeks, but you got to wait until they get more testing on it tomorrow. But I think one reason why, even beyond Jazz, why that is something to explore is because of the reality with Soler. That one, he is hitting so much better when he DHs. So they don't use him in the outfield much in the first place. And, reality is setting in that he's very unlikely going to be here beyond this year. Meaning that when you look at the trade market, there's a lot of value to getting another outfielder if they have control beyond this year. Even if their role is kind of uncertain the rest of this season, there is that might be another hole that they need to fill during the offseason. Who knows for sure whether Jazz is going to be a center fielder into 2024 and beyond, right? As comfortable as we are with that possibility now, based on how he's done when he's been healthy, he's not healthy that often. And, he still envisions himself as more of an infielder than a center fielder, as well as this thing is gone. That's absolutely something that's going to be in the conversation. On top of that, it depends how much faith the team really has in DLC and in Sanchez. Entering this year, I don't think they were totally sold on either guy as being an everyday possibility, and both of them have been really streaky this year. You add it all together, and they've been solid, but there's room to improve at that position as well. So I think that's got to be on our radar as well, even if it's not the clear-cut top priority. Maybe it's something that could wait until the offseason. The Jazz injury certainly adds a wrinkle to it.
How about getting a starting pitcher? I feel like we're low-key kind of getting thinner with starting pitching. I don't know. Even if they shut down Yuri, Cueto's questionable. I don't know when Trevor's coming back. I don't know. I don't see anyone else there. Cohen, I don't think he's a guy that can be in the rotation all year. Especially our schedule's going to get tougher. We have to be realistic. It's going to get hard. So that's why, that's one of my concerns. If Jazz is hurt, maybe we can go out and maybe get Luis Robert and then get one more start, and then maybe we can buckle down and hopefully get a wild card spot. Those are just a few concerns that I have as a fan. But
Luis Robert, he would be a massive get. That would be a Starling Marte levels. He's the only White Sox player who's not having a career worst year. He's actually very, very good. Is he an all-star starter? Or is he just on the team?
He's a reserve. He's a reserve.
Yeah, he didn't get voted in, but yeah, he's good. I mean, I don't think if he is available, they're going to get outbid. There are other teams that have, even though they have enough prospect capital to do some interesting things. The thing with Robert is that how many years of control he still has on him. I think it's another 4 years beyond this year. He's going to bring back a massive haul, and if he's truly available, I think there are other teams that actually have young controllable pieces for a presumably rebuilding White Sox team. I just don't think it's going to be a great fit. That's kind of even beyond my imagination for the deadline. That's something you could explore in the offseason if you're willing to move, some major league pieces. In the situation they're in right now, they can't really afford to move the major league guys and still feel comfortable about, being a playoff contender. So I think they need to really pray that he remains in Chicago the rest of the season and then go whale hunting for that in the offseason.
And with starting pitching, there are definitely guys you could think of that could come in Miami right now. And I know Grant has mentioned Paul Blackburn of the Athletics. That's a name I would definitely like to see. And after that, I just got to look into the market itself, because
the other
big fish are Giolito's and others. So yeah,
Giolito, Bieber. I think those are two headliners. I have my thoughts on Bieber. He's had some inflated numbers. He's kind of a fraud. Giolito would be a massive get for any team. I think he ends up in Cincinnati, but Miami needs a 4th or 5th starter. Paul Blackburn, he might be a little pricier, as Marcel DeVivo pointed out to me. He's got some control on him, but would be a valuable piece to anyone who gets him. I think he's one of the more likely pieces to age trade. But the other option, it's not quite as sexy just because he's old. It's probably his last year, is Rich Hill. He's probably going to get traded this deadline just because there's a lot of teams that need a back-end starter. It's not just Miami at this point. I would love for Miami to explore it, and because Cueto's, at this point, a likely DFA candidate, you already he could get shut down soon. And Hoeing, we don't know if this guy can last. It looks like Edward Cabrera, best case, returns at like the end of the month. Trevor's probably out till after the deadline. So it gets pretty bleak pretty quick, and a lot of the minor league options aren't great. And you can't exactly have a bullpen day every fifth day, especially for a bullpen that's already pretty taxed. So they could absolutely explore it. I think it's one of the more likely things they do. Do you have any other questions, man?
Well, that's about it, man. Thank you guys. Have a good night.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for speaking. All right, we've got Romeo back. We'll probably make this our last call unless anyone else has been dying to request. So, Romeo, what did you have to potentially close out the spaces?
All right, I got two things to say. One serious, one's unserious. I think I did this last week as well. One serious thing is I wasn't really here the entire time. I was thinking I just got back from what I was doing, and a team that's closer to last in their division than third place is the San Diego Padres, and I feel like that's another team that should look at as a trade candidate. I think that they're not going to blow it all up, but I feel like they are going to get rid of some of their pieces more expensive. I don't see them. They're also a team that can also heat up quick, but it's a bunch of big players that are not meshing together. I would see someone like myself with like a Ha-Sung Kim. I couldn't say his name. He's good. Center field option. He's been bad this year, but Trent Grisham, he's a lefty. You can put him out in center. It's a name that you can get there. Blake Snell, that's another name I was looking at while I was patrolling their roster. He's been pretty decent. He's been pretty, that's what it is. He's been decent. He's either doing good or being really bad. I remember seeing that on Twitter. Those are some names that I've been looking at for us as like people that we could replace now that Jazz is hurt. And I was going to also say that I feel like that Jazz was dealing with that oblique the first inning when he dove into first, and that probably caused, because he landed on that part of the body when he landed there.
Yeah, I agree on that, on the Jazz part of it, where it seems like that tied together, and maybe that is what set in motion for him to eventually aggravate what was initially a very minor and not noticeable issue with him. And I don't know, in our chat, in our staff chat, some people are rolling their eyes about the Blake Snell possibility. I don't hate that. He is a pending free agent. If the Padres don't really have a great month, he is a natural trade candidate, and he's somebody that he would be one of the more, maybe the most hot, desirable guy on the market, considering how well he's done recently. But he's had a really great career. I had him circled as a trade candidate going back a couple of years. I had this Trevor Rogers, Isan Diaz package in mind for Blake Snell, and that was not very popular. But now you fast forward to today, and I think the Marlins, the last couple of years, they could have used a little Blake Snell for as inconsistent as he could be. So that's something to keep in mind with the Padres. I don't know if Kim is going to be available. They really like Kim a lot, and he has another year of control beyond this year. He plays a bunch of different positions. He's really valuable for a team that is, no matter what happens this year, the Padres are going to be trying to contend again next year. So I don't see him really being available. But Snell is a sneaky one in mind with that team. And even on a lower scale, people aren't going to get excited about this, but Gary Sanchez, he's on the Padres. He's been Gary Sanchez-like, he's bounced back from where he was a year ago, where he's hitting for power in games again. He got his strikeout rate kind of under control. It goes without saying that he'd be an upgrade for the Marlins over what they're getting at their catching position as well. And I think just like Snell, he's going to be a pending free agent. So that's the one to keep in mind. If the Padres are out of it, they would try to flip him for anything that they can get. And with the Marlins, that's a fit. People were ready to give up a haul for Gary Sanchez a few years ago when he was on the Yankees. You remember those rumors and how it seems like there was some real smoke around that when the Marlins still had a lot of Yankees connections in their front office. His price is down a lot compared to what it used to be back then. So that's something to keep on your radar, Gary Sanchez.
he was a free agent not that long ago. They could have had him free.
What, he signed like 2 minor league deals, correct? So, I don't know. You never know.
Yeah. I like the Padres a bit, and I was watching Sports Center the other day, and they were like, okay, well, the Padres, they're going to sell off some pieces, but one, can't sell off their big contracts. 2, they can't buy. They have hit their absolute cap. Their owner is willingly losing money. But Grisham, I could see. I didn't know Blake Snell only had a year control until Eli said it. So, or I guess half the season, or that's contract, whatever. That would be a big fish to get. I don't know if he gets dealt. We'll see. It is still so unclear on who exactly is going to sell besides like the Nationals, the A's, the Royals, the Rockies, and the Tigers, White Sox. I mean, that's only like 6 teams. Where usually by this time in a normal year, pre-lockout and pre-COVID, you've already got a sense of who's wanting to sell. So it's still going to be interesting.
I wish more people, for my own serious question, I wish more people were here, but this one's more to Kevin. What is your, because they've done actually pretty good. I know Michael B was good, but their game modes in between the innings have been really good this year, or entertainment-wise. Is the awkward dad dance cam your favorite thing? Because that one, every time I see it, I love it. That one is a really good one.
It's all right.
They had a final for it one day.
It's all right. It's all right. I don't.
If you had to pick a favorite one, which would it be?
If I have to, I guess that's the funniest one. There's not much. Those guys too hard. They work hard, but I'm not very entertained by their in-game presentations. I'll tell you that much. So, yeah. I guess the dad cam is probably the best one. The dad cam is probably the best one.
Yeah, they had a final for it one day. Someone pulled out a lawnmower, so that's how you know it was getting bad.
But you go to more games than me because you're there almost every day now because you work there. So I'm not. Yeah. One who could really tell you what's the best one.
Yeah. They really, it gets repetitive sometimes, like the hat and the ball one, but yeah. The dad cam one is the best one that they've had.
It's probably the best one. Just because of how, not bad, but how unentertaining the other ones are.
All right. Anything else to add real quick? Going once, going twice. All right. Well, thank you all for coming out this Sunday. Next Sunday, we're gonna have to figure it out probably sometime tomorrow what we're gonna do. MLB Draft is next Sunday night, and last year we did a stream during it, so we might do that and do the spaces during the week instead. Have we come to a decision on that yet, Eli? Or I guess not.
I think we're on it. We have a decision on the draft stream that we're going to be doing it right around this time on next Sunday. It's going to be it could be the last time in a while that the Marlins are picking top 10 overall. So we want to cover it right. We know that pick is going to be an impactful decision for this team, and the way that the draft board lays out, it looks like they'll have a lot of good options to choose from. So yeah, we'll do a stream on YouTube, Twitch, and right here on Twitter on Sunday, probably starting right around 7 p.m. And we'll go all the way through to when the Marlins make their first round pick. So that should be a fun one. And yeah, we'll figure out another say the fish time around it. If nothing else, we'll be back the following Sunday, but we'll try to squeeze one in between as well.
We were looking at Wednesday or Thursday when there's no Marlins games. We'll have to sort out availability, but while we might not have this next Sunday, we'll at least try and sneak one in, and then you can still watch us in video form on Sunday night. But thank you all for coming out. I know kind of a weird crowd with what's been happening with Twitter this weekend. Hopefully it sticks by the next time we do one of these, and another big week for the Marlins coming up. Stay tuned.